Got a mixing idea for you today. Hey, this is Joe from Home Studio Corner. Mixed a song yesterday, and I used an approach that I haven't used in a while, and I think I've talked about it somewhere on this channel. It might have been on Ask Joe, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But this is really fun, and it's worth repeating. If you're like me and you mix lots of full band songs, drums, bass, guitars, keys, vocals, that kind of thing, this approach to mixing might shake things up a little bit and help you get where you want to go a little bit faster and certainly a little more easily. The big preface is, you've heard me say this a lot, you don't want to mix in solo. How the snare drum sounds soloed by itself is fairly irrelevant, because what it sounds like in solo and what it sounds like in the rest of the mix, it's going to be vastly different, and what matters is how it sounds in the mix. However, when you've got everything, all the faders up, and you're listening to everything, it can be really hard to hear the things you need to hear. So a quick solo is helpful just to find that frequency you're looking for, to hear how that attack time on the compressor is working, things like that. However, we're going to take it a step further and give you a little bit of room to breathe, so to speak, in your mix, so you can really hear how the tracks are interacting together without having other tracks covering things up and making it problematic. The approach is super simple. First thing you do is mix drums and bass. Second thing you do is mute the drums and bass. Third thing you do is mix everything else. Then the fourth thing you do is bring the drums and bass back in and see how it's all working. Now I'm going to explain why this is awesome and how it works. But first, let's do the first step. Let me show you the mixed drums and bass on a song I was mixing yesterday. The goal here with the drums and bass is to get them obviously sounding as amazing and big and full and huge as you can with just the drums and the bass. This is probably how you're already starting your mixes. If you're like me, I like to get the drums and bass going and then add everything else. The difference, though, is that we're now going to mute the drums and bass and then bring up everything else and mix the song as if it didn't have drums and bass to begin with. The goal here is to now get all of these tracks sounding as big and huge and full and mixed as possible without the drums. Think of it this way, you're trying to get like an acoustic mix of the song, a stripped down version of the song. So if you're doing that, if you're mixing an acoustic version of the song, you want it to sound big and full and nice because there aren't drums and bass to make it sound big and full and nice. Now I know what you're thinking, won't that be contradictory to the drums and bass? If I bring the drums and bass back in, isn't there going to be way too much lows and mids and it's going to be muddy? Maybe, but I would argue that this will allow you to get a nice, if you get a nice full mix with drums and then a nice full mix with everything else, when you blend them together with probably a few extra tweaks after the fact, you're going to have a nice full mix. Let me just show you how it worked out on this mix, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. Now my prediction, what'll happen for you is you'll forget that the drums and bass are even there. I've done this several times where I get it mixed and I'm thinking, man, the guitars and the keyboards, this sounds really good. This is a great sounding mix. And then I'll look over and remember, oh, right, there's drums and bass in this. Let's pull those in and see how it sounds. So let's do that.
Even if it runs me ragged, I'm gonna pull myself back out of this. Even if my body's heavy, I ain't ever gonna quit. 'Cause today is the day. Today is the day. Today's the day to turn it all around. Yeah, today is the day. Today is the day. Today's the day to turn it all around.
Time for a simple math formula. Big drums and bass plus great sounding big instrumental vocal mix equals great final mix. To be fair, when I did this the first time, the drums came back in feeling too bright, so I tamed them down a little bit, but with just a few tweaks to the buses, to the overall drum and bass sound, to the overall guitar sound, I was able to land in a spot that made it sound super, super great, and I was able to get there much quicker. Here's the thing, if I'm trying to get guitar sounds, and I'm hearing drums and bass, it's gonna be hard to hear the guitars. It's gonna take me longer to get the guitar sounds or the vocal sounds or the keyboard sounds or the reverb sounds that I want, because drums and bass are just blaring away in my eardrums and it's hard to hear over them. Simple solution is turn those suckers off. Give the drummer and the bass player a little break. Get everything else situated and sounding good, then bring them back in, and all you'll have to do is a few final tweaks to make them gel together, and you'll have a mix that sounds huge, full, and awesome. Plus, this will help you with not making your mixes overly bright, which I hear a lot. They'll take so much mid-range out that there is no warmth to the mix. There's just drums and bass and low end, and then a bunch of upper mid-range harshness, and not a lot of that mid-range goodness that you gotta have in the mix. If you're mixing all the instruments without drums and bass, you will necessarily make sure that it has some warmth, because you'll miss that warmth when you're not getting it from the drums and the bass. And then the two warmths will mix together to make an even warmer sound. So warm. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below and go try it. I'm not sure this would work on every kind of mix, and I'm not convinced it's something I'm gonna do every time that I mix, but I did do it on this mix, and I was pretty happy with the results. By the way, this is the song we're mixing next month at Dueling Mixes, so check out duelingmixes.com if you haven't already. You can get a free trial, you get access to a ton of songs to mix, plus expert advice, from me and from Graham Cochran, who is just fabulous. Check it out at duelingmixes.com. In the meantime, keep mixing.